There we
Pressing
go.
all the wrong buttons. This is
I
why I
said
can't
press
have
the
nice
button. He was
things.
like, sure, I'll press all the buttons.
Welcome back to the Talking Average Fitness Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Burns. And I'm joined, as always, by the only guy who encourages me to do dumbass shit that I am sure both of our wives are sick and tired of dealing with. My wife is nodding over here as I'm saying this. Mr. Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm at the gym, so Sammy can't also nod in agreement, being like, yep, I have to deal with this fucking dumbass every day of my life.
Her ears are burning. She's nodding in spirit.
Yeah, probably. Because when I come home, like, babe, I found a cat in the parking lot. Can we keep it? Found a cat.
See, if she wasn't as much of a softie for cats as
Right?
you are,
Yes.
that would sound weirder.
Yes.
But thankfully,
Yeah,
you both
thankfully.
caved like wet paper bags.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like she had been outside for weeks. I mean, you can see her rib cage and her hips, and like so skinny and sweetest little thing. For
How's
those of
she
you
doing,
guys
by
that
the way?
don't, she's doing good. She's eating a ton. She is a menace when it comes to food. She's like, let me climb on the table and stick my face right in whatever you're eating. Gave
She'll
her a
figure it
French
out.
fry the other day, and that was she loved it. So now, addicted to French fries.
Right.
But we've started to leave her room door open because we had her in like her own separate room, so the cats could kind of like smell each other out. And there's been like a handful of hissing back and forth, just like here and there a little bit.
Yeah.
Can
you still see me?
Why is my Siri having to go at me? Good God. So every once in a while, like they'll exchange a hiss back and forth, but they've been in the same room, just laying there. They've been, they haven't gone up and snuggled each other, but they're learning to get along, and it's probably going to be a process. And Sammy was like, oh, well, they're hissing at each other. And last night was the new cat's name is Millie. So she's like, Millie, basically like Luna came around a corner, like coming in hot. And as soon as Luna came in, what is my Siri doing? All right, is my Siri? How do I turn Siri off? Because she keeps popping up as if I'm trying to
talking to her.
Do something. Yeah,
hang on.
But I haven't said anything.
End it.
So, but Luna came in hot around the corner at one point, and like it kind of like jumped Millie, and so she hissed at her and like chased her out of the kitchen, which then sent Sammy into an emotional 9 months pregnant woman, whatever.
Careful.
Because of course, Luna.
Careful.
Listen, I'm aware that my wife has all the right in the world. Listen, let me be clear. My wife has all the right in the world to be emotional.
Mm-hmm.
She's just about done with a fully cooked child. But she was stressed from work, not sleeping well, and then like watching Millie like go after Luna, and like chase her out of the kitchen. Like Luna is the OG cat. Like we got Luna when she was 2 weeks old.
Real thing.
Yeah. And so then Sammy's like, well, what if they don't get well, listen, like Millie is way more adventurous than Rooster ever was. When we got Rooster, he was so scared of life that he spent the first month at our house, like under our bed, like just so they had a chance to like sniff each other out. And like Rooster wasn't having to go, but it's like Millie was on the streets, like having to fight for her life and fight for her food. And so when Luna came sprinting around the corner, just like with a zoomie, like I'm sure it's just a knee-jerk reaction of like, I'm under attack. I gotta, puff my chest out type deal. And so I'm like, I'm sure they'll be fine, because this morning they've been out and about and they've been fine. But I'm like, it's just like, it's probably going to take a second, because Millie was like out in the wild for a while.
It's going to take more than a second. It's going to take a bit.
Yeah. Well, when I say it, a second, a bit, a hot minute, whatever idiom you want to use for time. But anyways, cat stuff.
Cats. Well, cool. So I did a thing recently, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So for the last 16 weeks,
that's about right.
It's about right. I have been prepping for the CrossFit Level 4 assessment, right? So first of all, it should be said, I have to be very careful what I say, right?
Yes.
So by paying them the $1,500 and like agreeing to do this thing, you enter into a non-disclosure agreement with
Hmm.
CrossFit, and you're not
Hmm.
allowed to talk about the workouts, the movements, things that are said during the workouts or the movements, the experience. I can talk about the shape of things. I can talk about my own thoughts and feelings about it. And I can talk about anything that they published already. So, like stuff that's in the candidate handbook it's publicly available, so it's free reign.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so, all of that stuff is good. But it was a wild experience prepping for the last 16 weeks and then going through it and then kind of figuring out, okay, what does that feel like? How how did it feel to like take everything you can do and like dial it to 11?
Yeah.
And then how do I think I did? And all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
So you don't know if you passed yet.
I have no clue.
Awesome.
so so the way I'm coping with that, by the way, there's a
It's
gentleman.
coffee,
No,
caffeine.
well, yes, but also, I heard a guy on the internet. He defines patience as figuring out what to do while you wait, and
Hmm.
and so like
Sounds a lot like distractions.
depends, right? It depends on
Kind
like
of.
how useful what you're doing is, right?
Well, but I mean more like distracting you from like the thinking about, oh God, how did I do type deal or the result.
Well, and that's
More what I
not
meant.
productive, and that's not being patient. If I'm sitting there and I'm thinking and I'm worrying about it, I'm not being patient. I'm obsessing.
Well, right.
And so, in the meantime, finding things that are productive, like this podcast, and as much as this podcast is productive, is is me exercising a version of patience. Um, and so, I don't know how I did. Um, I won't know. Probably, I would assume the earliest because they always say like anytime you go, you take your level 1 or your level 2, there's an exam at the end of the level 1 or level 2, and they're like,
Hmm.
"We'll email your results within 10 business days," right? It
Hmm.
never takes that long. I've never had any of them take that long.
No.
I would not be surprised if I heard as early as Saturday. Um, but I won't know until then. And
Yep.
like a lot of the other things, like with your level 2, your level 1 exam, if you pass, they say you passed. And they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you what your score was or anything like that.
They
If you
just say good job.
fail, yeah, they just say good job. Here's your credential, blah blah blah. If you fail, then they give you a little bit of a breakdown on where you fell short, right?
Hmm.
And that's standard for all of CrossFit stuff. You can expect to
Do
have
they,
an
do
email
they
from
do that for the level 3 as well? Like
I
give you a breakdown of like, hey, you like these sections is where you got like the most
I
answers
th-
wrong
I
and stuff.
think
So you know what
they
to.
I think they do. I'd have to go
Okay.
back and check the candidate handbook, but I think they do. Of
Okay.
course, the nice thing about the level 3, as you know, is you go to a Pearson View Center, you take the
You get an
exam,
immediate result.
done, and
Yeah.
like
Like you walk out the thing. I walked out of the like because I didn't like read the candidate the full
uh,
transparency. Did not read the candidate handbook for the level 3. I
just
just
winged it.
knew that. Well, no, I didn't just wing it, but I just I knew what I like to study or prepare. All I did was I did development every day with James and Lachlan,
Yeah.
like methodology talks, like had them evaluate my coaching, all that fun stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and practiced stuff with them. And every day I read 1 to 2 articles from the journal,
Yep.
which is basically just the stuff when you click on the things to study materials, it just goes CrossFit Journal. There it is.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
So I
Pretty
just
much.
like read articles, watched videos, just like 1 to 2 posts each day. And like I think it was roughly like 3 to 4 months, similar timeline to you with level 4 for before when I picked my test date.
Yeah.
Um, and so I went in, took the test, finished it, walked out, and the person was like, "Here's your result." And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Like I was expecting a similar thing, like we'll get back to you within the 10 business days type deal. They're like, "No, here you go." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, all right
And
then."
when I
So
took mine, the guy behind the counter was like, "Here you go." And like I freaked out. I'm like, "Hey, I did it." And he's like, "Is that good?" Like he doesn't know what the test is.
yeah, he had not a clue. He just knows
Yeah.
I was this piece of paper shot out the printer at me and it goes to him.
Yeah,
That's all you
exactly.
know. Okay, sweet.
So first of all, this is a unique thing, right? The level 4, it's not, like when you go and you take your level 1, your level 2, like they bring staff members in and there's a place and you go to the place, and typically it's a gym that hosts it, right? And there's a lot of level 1s and level 2s. Well,
Yep.
there ain't a lot of places that are hosting level 4s
I would
because
imagine not.
no, and it's a big deal the way they structure it. So, and all of this is in the candidate handbook. I'm not violating my NDA, CrossFit. You have 2 raters who are very experienced seminar staff members, and
Can
the
you say who yours were?
I
Is that
don't know.
allowed?
I don't know if I can or not.
If I guess, can you blink twice for yes, blink once for no?
So let's put it this way. There's only a handful of people who are experienced enough
Mm-hmm.
at coaching coaches to
Mm-hmm.
be able to do this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if you had 5 guesses, you'd probably get it in 3 to 4 guesses.
Probably.
And
Probably.
extremely professional people. I would not want to play. I told a friend of mine I would not want to play poker against them. They're in no way, shape, or form did how they feel about anything I was doing present on their face. Total poker face.
Yeah, just
Which is
stone
it's
cold killers.
well, it's hard initially, but then you realize like, oh, I can stop looking then. Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to see anything. They're not going to
Yeah.
show anything. They're just too good.
Not
At
going to
this.
give any sort of feedback. We're not going to give
No.
any sort of like no hints of like, oh, I did good, or oh, like
Yeah.
that they didn't like that type deal. Like it
And
just you,
like I'll come back around to this. Like, also, you're worrying about the wrong thing if you're worrying about them.
oh yeah. If
Yeah.
you're worried about them, you failed already because
Absolutely.
you know 1000%.
And
I
so
get you.
anyway, so there's a handful of gyms because you have to go in and you coach 2 classes in a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are mandatory between 7 and 12 athletes in a class, and whoever shows up is whoever shows up, right? So it's truly a, this is what our community is, and you walk into it. And so the gym has to be able to enforce that, has to be able to provide 7 to 12 for however many people are coming in and doing an assessment. And it also has to be a place that is big enough and centrally located. And so, like, I went to CrossFit 1124 in Marietta, Georgia. So I flew to Marietta, Georgia, and, bought a car and a hotel and all the things, or rented a car and a hotel and all the things. And I was there like 36 hours total time.
Yep.
I was there long enough to go see the gym and to meet the owners of the gym, and wonderful, wonderful people. Tyler and Callie down at 1124, they have a beautiful facility. I mean, so he does residential commercial real estate. They bought 3 plots of land on a street off of a main street, purpose built this facility. Like, I think 30 ergs, 25 echo bikes, 2 big rigs, turf. Like, they're not messing around. At 250 people in this gym, they just celebrated their 5-year anniversary. They're doing it right.
That's sweet.
And like, I'm coming in and I'm upsetting the apple cart. Like, they have a thing. It's very obviously working. It's working so well that they can open up the facility to have me come in and 2 other raters who are going to rate me to do this. And then on top of that, they're about the 2 nicest humans I've run into in recent memory. Just, what can we do for you? How can we help things be easier for you? Just tremendously generous humans. So thank you, Tyler and Callie. And then you have to coach these workouts.
You can't say what the workout was?
I cannot say what the word. That's very, very clear. What I can say is that,
which is weird. Is it like, I mean, when I say it's weird, like, is it the same workout for all the level 4 evaluations? Like, is the workout whatever the host gym's class workout is, or is
It
the
is not.
workout
No. So
provided by CrossFit?
the workouts are provided by CrossFit
Okay,
48 hours in
that's
advance.
fine then. That's
Yeah.
that answers my question, because I'm sure that there's like even if it's not the same workout for every level 4, I'm sure there's like a standard like set list of workouts that they
Yeah.
have in the
Yeah.
chamber for you guys to do, which is why you can't say.
Yeah. And one of the things that has been talked about publicly is that one of the workouts is a heavy day. So like
Ooh.
that's a known thing. But
Mhm.
beyond that, I can't say what the workouts were.
Okay, fair enough.
And um and so I want to get something out of the way right off the whack.
Okay.
I don't think I passed.
Ooh.
And I say that with, how do I want to phrase this? There's no emotion or ego in that. Like, I've spent the last 16 weeks reading through the candidate handbook and trying to understand at a very, very, at a like a
In-depth
very
level.
granular level, like what is required to do this. And so when I think about those things build a rubric and a framework in my mind for what, like, because I want to do all of those things, right?
Mhm.
And to me, in my mind, that constructs what it constitutes a perfect class, right? I tried really hard. I and I and when I say I tried hard, I mean I was fucking exhausted emotionally. And like, I
Like
think part of
after
it,
the evaluation.
after my first
Yeah.
class, I had
Mhm.
to go back to my hotel room and sit down and just like be.
Yeah.
Like after my second one, I ate an apple, I had a protein shake, and then I dropped into one of their classes and I did a workout, but I need to turn my brain off because
Yeah.
I tried really hard.
Mhm.
And even with all of that, the point of the assessment is you take a random assortment of human beings of mixed capability level, mixed
Yep.
experience, mixed injuries, range of motion issues, things like that, and you coach them all. And in order to coach them all, you have to work out, you have to understand the intended stimulus of the workout and all the variations that could happen based on scaling and things like that. And then as you do a general warm up and then go through into your specific teaching and your load up or prep or your test and then the actual workout, you are assessing them in real time. I've never met any of these human beings before the 10 minutes before they walked in. And
Yeah.
for one of
And
my classes, because it's a real class.
mhm.
Like, these are real, they don't know what I'm doing. They're just walking into class.
Yep.
Like, I had people walking in 1 minute before
Mhm.
the class started. And so like I didn't get a chance to meet and
People
engage.
walk in 3 minutes late,
It happens, right?
It
It's
happens.
it's
Mhm.
real deal. And so
Mhm.
um being able to assess those people in real time and then based on the information that is presented and based on your understanding of the workout and how it should be executed, having a plan or a structure and then modifying that plan or structure in real time based on what you're presented in the class at the highest level possible. And when we say at the highest level possible, so like based on the candidate handbook, for seeing and correcting, the rubric for like a pass on those subsections is you must be able to see and correct all, gross, and most subtle faults, right? So gross fault would be loss of midline stabilization in the deadlift, right? So
Yeah.
rounded back,
Knees caving in on a squat.
knees giving in a squat. And
Yeah.
and like even as I'm saying that, I'm thinking back to things I saw in the classroom, like, fuck, how many, like, did I correct every single one of those? And
Yeah.
it's
But here's something though. Just because me knowing you, and I know that like in your brain right now, you've got 7,000 different things, and
yeah,
in your like emotions, you're like, I'm sure there's part of you that you're like, thank sweet baby Jesus that like that's done because that took, if anyone that has coached a class in the way that Sam is describing, where you gave 1,000% of your soul to that class, you need to take a fucking nap afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, I'm firmly the belief that, like, if you're like, I'm going to coach 4 classes in a row, not at the highest level, you're not. You can guide people through whatever the workout is 4 times in a row, but you are not effectively coaching at the highest level for even 3 classes in a row.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way. But I'm sure that there's a little bit of like, good God, that took everything in me. Like, I'm just kind of like that, like adrenaline dump or release that kind of like you just drained type deal. I'm sure there's part of you that's thinking about every single minute of every single one of those classes in detail and going over what I do well, what didn't I do well, and being super hard on yourself because you hold yourself to a high standard. You expect a lot of yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's also a part of you that's like proud of yourself and like having a go at this and putting yourself out there and all that fun jazz.
Well,
so I'm sure it's a mix of things.
It is, and I'll come back to that part. And so like all gross and most are faults, and like there's some things, and like you're one set of eyeballs, and there's 7 or 12 people in a class, and so you literally can't look at everything. And so like I'm looking at one person, and while I'm looking at one person, someone else is fucking off over here, right?
Yeah.
And so like you've got to find a way as a professional to be like, I'm going to partition my attention between these humans. And I'm logistically
going to find a way to circle back around to the people that you've like already checked in on once and make sure that they're not fucking it up again.
Yeah.
Like, hey, dipshit, told you to push your knees out.
Right. And like, how are they laid out in the room? Where are you relative to how they're laid out in the room so that you can see the things that you're telling them to do so that you can correct them as quickly as possible and correct as many people as like at the same time as you can. Like, and it's go ahead.
I was gonna, here's the fun question when you talk about like how they're set up in the room.
Yeah.
This is just popped into my head, so I'm gonna ask it just because it could be interesting. If you're setting people up in a room to like teach a progression, right? I'm just gonna make up a movement. You're teaching snatches.
Okay.
Would you prefer like circle style, sort of like a level 1?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so in rows, yes.
I would do
columns.
A grid system of some kind.
Okay, so we're in. I was just wondering. I've done when I was like coaching classes in preparation for like again like putting my application in for seminar staff. Like I literally there were times where like we had oh god we had squat cleans with a barbell in the workout. And I was like, I'm going to use and abuse you guys as like my guinea pigs. So like you're each going to grab a medicine ball. I'm going to teach the medicine ball clean as a warm up, and I'm going to have you circle up so I can like practice being in this environment so that like at the time in my head, I was like, when I go and do the internship, I walk in just like, you know, big dick that sucker. Like this is what like I'm prepared. And so like I've done that, and it's definitely it's different. The cross circle queuing and different. Have you ever been to a gym or coached a class? I know I haven't coached a class at one of these gyms just because of where I've been, but like been to a gym where like there is no grid system, there is no columns. People just kind of like put their shit wherever the fuck around the room.
Yeah, and then I tell them to move. Like and like sometimes it depends on the class, like depends on what we're doing. So as a standard bit of information, when I plan a class, I plan a flow for
1,000%.
Where I want the athletes to be, where I want them to move. And like you can have a lot of fun with that. Like one of my favorite things is like Christine as an example. So Christine, 3 rounds for time, 500-meter row, 12 deadlifts, body weight, 21 box jumps, 20 inches, right? I like to lay it out all rowers, all barbells, all boxes. And so what you get is this kind of like game style thing. And it's a lot, it can be a lot of fun for people. But it also allows me to, when they're all at the deadlift, I can lay them all out, like put them in a space, make them all face one direction. And then I can see bodies and I can see shapes. I can stand in one position and I can see 10 people.
Yeah.
And
especially like for the deadlift, if you're like, if the way your room's set up is the barbells are kind of like going this way and you're at the front of the room here, but they're all facing sideways to their deadlift. You're like, I got a perfect, like if there's 12 people, I can just like see all your spine positions and hip, head, shoulders, knees and toes angles.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that is important.
It is. And it's, and that's the kind of like group management and logistics stuff that you figure out that helps you solve teaching, seeing, correcting problems.
Mm-hmm.
And if what I'm talking about sounds like a pain in the ass, it absolutely is a pain in the ass. Like it's a shit ton of like it's not necessary. You don't need to do this to coach a class, right?
It makes life so much easier, like during the class, though.
If your goal is to provide feedback to the athletes so that they get better.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not the goal of how you want to execute that class, then that's a lot of extra work for zero ROI.
Well, right. But it's like, I know, like when I made a post way long ago on Instagram, made a post about this when I first started figuring out this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was going to do squat therapy as part of my warm up. So for those of you guys that don't know what squat therapy is, medicine ball on the floor, you stand relatively close to a wall with your arms overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Arms can't touch the wall. Your butt has to touch the medicine ball. And it's kind of like a drill for enforcing good positions for squats. So I was going to have people do that. And I thought, like, I'm gonna take the 2 minutes, like, or 3 minutes that it might take me to just like grab some medicine balls and line them up, like 10 of them up on the wall, so to have those stations set and ready. But if I have people be like, hey guys, you're each going to grab a medicine ball and set it up on the wall, that now you just lost 7 minutes in your class because they're chit chatting. They're like, wait, I don't like this medicine ball. Wait, what are we doing with it? Or do I have to throw it? No, you don't. You're just going to touch your butt with it. Doesn't matter what weight it is. Okay, well, I don't like the color of that one. I don't know.
That stuff matters. And if you're trying to, and like all of this is relative, it all exists on a spectrum. If you're trying to, create you've decided, for example, that having the best possible class that you can do is important, right? Like then it matters. So anyway, all of these things you are trying to do at 100% capability. Now,
10% capability.
First of all, you can't. I have Carly, who's a math teacher, in my ear, being like, "You can't have 110%." But like,
you find that extra 10%.
Don't be a bitch.
Let's go harden up. Let's go.
So here's my biggest takeaway, and I'll point this at myself, myself that existed in the past by a couple weeks. Okay. Yep. I had this assumption that, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I feel like coming out of this experience. I had this assumption that, okay, leading up to this thing, what I'm doing in a class normally is not the same as what I'm going to attempt to do in the level 4. The level 4 is a contrived environment, right? I'm attempting to take all of the things that I am capable of doing, that rubric that they have in the candidate handbook outlines as acceptable, and I'm trying to do all of them. I'm like taking all the fucking dials and going to 100% on every single one. That's unrealistic to practice in a class, like a normal class setting, right? Those people don't give a shit. Like, and so like the people who come into the level 4, they understand that it's an evaluation, right? They're playing along, and God bless them for it. And so I had this idea. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to try to dial to 10 on everything before I go into the assessment. One, because it's like I was kind of guest coaching in a community. So it's not my community. They're not my people. And also, 2, I knew I had an idea that there was a cost to that emotionally and physically in terms of like trying to do it as hard as I can. I told myself that like I'm going to try to get to like 80% or 90%, right? So like if you think about like a squat cycle, right? You don't want to be hitting maxes before benchmark day. You want to be going high, some good reps at high percentages, and then on the day, I'm thinking I was prepping our heavy day podcast, which comes out today. And I was thinking about this. It's a good analogy, like, and what I come out thinking about it is like the intensity for a single effort of this, like truly, like when we talked last week, if you are really going after a heavy day, it's going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
That's what I feel
Yeah.
like coaching this, right?
Yeah.
And what I learned coming into it is the coaches that I observe with my own physical eyeballs, so the ones that are inside of my local group that I
Mhm.
commune with normally, are not coaching it anywhere near 100%.
Nope.
Not at all. And like, this is not me tooting my own horn. What I realized is that there's what you do sustainably on the day to day. And then if you are in this environment and you actually, and I fucking went for it.
Mhm.
And because I worked really goddamn hard, I'm not going to be upset if I didn't pass,
Mhm.
because I know I could not have done better on that day, right?
Mhm. Yep.
What that tells me, though, is that I was nowhere fucking near 100% in any of the classes that I prepped with. At best, I'd say 85%.
Mhm.
And
Thing is though, is like when using your heavy day analogy though, right? If we're going like
yeah,
percentages, let's say like you're coaching classes at your local affiliate and you're, as you said, like at most you're coaching those classes at 85% of the
yep,
coaching capacity that Sam has.
yep,
I think the thing that kind of like separates the highest level coaches from the rest is that like your 85% is someone else's 120%, like
and
if that
and
makes sense.
it does. And I,
And that
first of
comes
all,
down to development. And again, like if you're using the strength day analogy, it's like if someone has spent 10 years productively strength training,
right,
then they've just built up that capacity. They just have a higher ceiling. And if someone comes in and they've only been doing 2 years of strength training,
yeah,
it would be unfair for them to try and hold themselves to the same standard as that 10-year lifter.
yeah,
And they're sitting there like, oh man, he's lifting 400 pounds. That must be his max. And he's like, nah, bro, this is like my 75%. And you go, fuck.
yeah,
Like he's just doing that, just like in life,
yeah.
just squatting 400 pounds. And I'm over here like, but it's all part of the timeline. That's not to like be mean to other coaches,
No, 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 no.
but it's like, it can also be like as a coach, if you're coaching classes and you're also seeing your fellow coaches at your affiliate coach classes, and in your head, you're like, I must be doing pretty good because I'm like above them. You also have to
Yeah,
take into that thing like to sustainably coach within an affiliate. Again, if you're coaching 3, 4, God help you if it's more than that classes per day,
yeah.
you cannot coach at 100% of your capacity. I don't coach at 100% of my capacity.
You can't
I
do it.
probably I can't, especially like with the shifts. Like at 4 days a week, I have 3 in a row. It's like
75%,
that's
like,
yeah, yeah,
and like,
pretty much.
you can
Like
coach a damn good class at 75%.
maybe the first 2 classes are like in the like 80 to 85% range,
Yeah.
and then it drops down 5% from there.
See,
So in like my last class today gets somewhere more in like the 75%
see,
range.
because I know you,
Mhm.
I think you are overvaluing what you're providing those first 2 classes and
Mhm.
undervaluing the total output you are capable of. For example, if we're using
That's my brain just
the
like
1 rep max
had a
analogy, right? You're
right.
saying, "Oh yeah, these first 2 sets, I'm gonna do
Mhm.
85%, and I'll probably drop off to 75%."
Mhm.
That's based on a theoretical 1 rep max of 100, right? Let's call it 100 pounds.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is your actual 1 rep max is not 100, it's probably 110,
Mm.
which means if you're giving me 85 pounds, it's less than 85%.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
And so
When you said it the
my
first time, my brain had like a brain I was like, I don't know what to do with that.
and my and what I mean by that is I thought
Mhm.
going into this that I had a good idea of how far I could push myself, and I was very wrong.
Like
I
you
would
went above and beyond what you thought you were capable of? Or what you thought was
I
like
I
what
have
like
never but you
you went
can't
into this with like thinking my 1 rep max is 100 and you
well,
smashed 120.
1 rep max provides like fixed numbers for things. Let's do like RPE, right? Like
Sure. Yeah.
I assumed that I
Yeah.
understood what RPE 10 was for me, and I was wrong. And what I
Yeah.
really did there was RPE 10.
Yeah.
And now looking back, everything I thought was like 8 or 9 was actually like 6 or 7 or 8. And
Yeah.
it's like, fuck. And like, then you understand like the real cost. And like, I mean it when I say I finished those classes and I was fucked up. I had to, like, I sat in my car and emotionally, physically, I was just beat up. And like, there was a reason that like I went off the grid for 3 days, like Monday, Tuesday, into Tuesday evening, 2 full days. Into Tuesday evening, I was off the grid. I deleted Facebook, I deleted Instagram because like I couldn't afford the distraction.
Yeah.
And it was, I keep hearing like Sean Woodland being like, you don't know how good you have to be just to suck at a level
Suck
4
at the
assessment.
CrossFit Games. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
You don't know
And
just how good you have to be to fail at the level 4.
so what I'm
That's
thinking now coming into that, and I've had several people who I know
hmm.
who I would consider colleagues or friends go through it recently and pass. Some of them was their first time, some of them it was their second time. Having put myself in that position, hats off to them, and especially if you did it more than once, because fuck that noise, right? it's it's you're voluntarily putting yourself through the emotional ringer, you know. And so my buddy Josh Melendez out of Houston, Texas, CrossFit Be Someone, he got it just recently, and you know, congratulations
Nice.
to Josh. He failed the first time, and so then he went back, and he's ruthless. Josh is so fucking ruthless. He's gonna, it doesn't matter what it is or how many CEUs he already has, he's gonna do everything. And like, it's just the way he's built. And he went and worked with a bunch of professionals, and I believe there are mentorship opportunities that are provided to coaches from CrossFit who fail their first level 4 so that they can prepare and then go take it again and hopefully pass. And he took full advantage of that, and like not just one but like multiple avenues. And so like he went and whatever he did was an improvement, and he passed, and hats off to him. And here's where we get to kind of an interesting point. And what I'm about to say is very relative to me. All right. I don't think it's important that I pass the level 4. Josh, I'm making some assumptions. And Josh, if you listen to this and I'm wrong, please feel free to tell me I'm wrong. Josh owns an affiliate. He coaches daily in his affiliate. It is important. Josh has outlined it as important to be the best coach and the best affiliate owner that he can be, both for his staff and for his community. And so for him, having that level 4 assessment and getting that feather at that diamond fucking feather in his cap of all of the other awesome things that he has done as a coach and affiliate owner is important to him, because it helps to distinguish him to his staff and to his community, and rightfully so, right? I really like the idea of being able to say that I'm a level 4 coach, but I don't coach in an affiliate daily or even weekly, right? I did leading up to this, but I'm not going to continue doing that right now. I don't own an affiliate where I have members coming in and a coaching staff and things like that. Ostensibly speaking, outside of my friends and colleagues, nobody knows who I am. And there's a cost to doing this thing. Like, first of all, it's $1,500, and then there's the flights, and then there's the hotel, and then there's the rental car, and then there's the food and all the other stuff while you're there. And then there's the time that I'm away from my family. You know, it was 24, 48. It was a little over 48 hours. It was all of Monday, all of Tuesday, and then half day Wednesday. Then I'm away from my family. I'm away from my kids. And Most importantly, where I'm pointing my life right now, the level 4 will be about me.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be about the things I'm trying to do. In the sense that, like, I don't think the level 4 is going to demonstrably enable me to a greater level to be better or more effective at the things that I'm trying to do right now professionally. And I am in no way demonizing or diminishing what the level 4 means. And I think everybody gets to choose what it means to them, right? And to be
Mm-hmm.
fair, I think I've already failed, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
you could make the argument that maybe part of this is me excusing away how much it feels. But as I was, this is give you a little context, as I was packing to get up and like finishing packing on Monday morning, my wife hands me a sock from my baby, my boy. Yes, it's a sock. The fuck sock's this big, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's a cute little baby sock. And I had that thing in my pocket the entire time I coached, the entire time I
Mm-hmm.
traveled. And every time I put my hand in my pocket and I felt that little baby sock, the thing that popped into my heart and into my head was none of this shit matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do this test and it's gonna be really hard and I don't want to fuck it up. I want to try really hard. And I would love if they said, yes, you were good enough. But my kids aren't gonna give a shit if I pass this test or not. My kids are gonna give a shit if I come home and I give like them the attention that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the people
Yeah.
who I'm trying to like reach out to and save through Motivateful are not going to give a shit if I have this credential, you know, because
No.
that's not what their life is, you
And if
know.
they do care that, like, if joining Motivateful or joining what we're doing hinges on whether or not you have a level 3 or a level 4 next to your name,
I've missed it.
then
I've missed something.
yeah, you
Like I fucked something up if that's what
yeah,
they're looking for. And like if that's what they're
yeah,
looking for, I know a couple of those people and I will happily hand
yep.
those people
And
off to
hey,
a
yep,
Christina or to a Josh.
yeah. And I mean, you saying this, I remember months ago when you first signed up and you asked me, you're like, you should go for your level 4. And I was like, I don't, because for me, and again, me personally, not to
Sure.
dissuade people from going for the level 4, because it is like a worthwhile pursuit as long as your reason why lines up with everything.
Absolutely.
But I was like, similarly, like for me for the level 3, it's like, it's not that getting your level 3 is not that passing that test is going to make you a better coach. You
Yep.
have to become a better coach to be able to pass the test.
For sure.
1,000%, but you become
100%.
better in your pursuit of it. Same as
Yes.
like, I'm sure that with the practice, the prep, the reps under your belt, I'm sure that Sam became a better coach in his preparation for the level 4.
I didn't get worse,
But
that's for
like,
sure.
well, that's true. But it's like passing level 4 and then him getting that next to his name does not add automatically like upgrades like Sam's abilities. His
Yeah.
abilities are the same. He just has a new letter next to his name or
Yeah.
a different number.
Yeah.
And so for me, like the credential thing, and this might sound real bad, but I'm going to say it and I'll explain what I mean, is that like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
What matters is what you do with it and what you choose to pursue and go and achieve with it.
Amen.
And if you feel like getting the level 4 or getting your level 3 is going to give you the confidence to like go and do something amazing with it,
Yep.
then fantastic. But the only reason I got my level 3 was because it was the minimum required credential for seminar staff. And that was the goal, was to go do seminar staff. If they were like, hey, you can have your level 1 and do seminar staff, you just have to like pass the intern process, then guess who would still have his level 1? This guy. Because it's not about the credential. It's about like, I have the end goal.
Yeah.
What needs to happen for me to get there? I need to get my level 3. Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm currently a level, like I had just passed my level 1. It was like Monday, like whatever, like the Wednesday, whenever you get your test results back, whatever. Like had just gotten my level 1 and was like, I want to go and be that person for someone else.
Yeah.
And so I started, what needs to happen? I need to get my level 2. Okay,
Yeah.
what do you need for level 2? We need to be able, you should, again, the recommendation is you coach this
Chart the
many
path.
hours and you do exactly. So cool, I'm going to go do that. And, was coaching at affiliate, like went and did my level 2. In that level 2, just in that weekend, the amount of development and like eye-opening shit that happened, I was like, oh my God, there's a whole nother, because when I went to the level 2, again, it was like, because in my little bubble, I was a good coach in that little bubble. And I was like, I'm going to leave my little bubble and I'm going to go and show these guys how good of a coach I am. And I walked in, and similar to your Greg Martino experience, had Austin Elliott be like, don't do that ever again. And so went through that whole deal. And was like, oh, there's so much more that can happen development. There's so much more that I don't know. Then it just so happened I was able to make my way to Boston and like get in with the One Nation crew, because Sammy was a member at their Waltham gym at the time. I met this crazy bastard named Lachlan McGonigal. And the rest was kind of history. Did a whole bunch of development after getting my level 2. Was like, getting my level 2 did not make me a better coach. It showed me what I needed to do to become the coach I wanted to be. And then I spent the next 3.5 years becoming the coach I wanted to be. And then I got my level 3. And it's like, the only reason I went for my level 3 again was because I was like, I want to be seminar staff, and that is required. So that's the only reason I took it. So if there was a requirement, you have to have a level 4 to go and do this. You have to have your level 4 to go and do that. Then I would seriously pursue it. But because that's not the case for me personally, I don't see a huge amount of value in taking the time to prep for it, to fly down for it, or down, up, sideways, whatever direction it needs to be,
wherever
it is. Like, I don't feel the need to do that, because it's not going to move the needle for me in the way that some other things can, in what I want to pursue professionally, personally, all that fun jazz. I can do all the development in the world. Like, Sam and I have a lot of calls where we talk about getting better as coaches. I work with like a handful of coaches here at Tilt where we try and like make each other better. That stuff is making me a better coach. Going and getting the level 4 just kind of like puts the stamp of like, CrossFit also thinks you're at that level, but you can be a level 4 coach in terms of what you can do, what the coaching capacity you have, without the credential. And even if that may come off as like blasphemy, but
I don't think it's blasphemy.
That's my thought and feeling about it.
Well, and like even going to the rubric, right? So there's 14 criteria across 2 workouts. That's 28 points, right? You've got to get 10 out of 14 or 20 out of 28. That's a 72%. Of the things that they say you are either doing them or not doing them, you have to get 72% of them. It's a C-, right?
Yeah.
So
C's get degrees, baby.
Amen. If you are doing 70% of those, even if you don't get to 72%, if you're doing 70% or 60% of those, I'm still very effective as a coach. And it doesn't in any way diminish my ability to like help other coaches or to like run a good class or anything like that. And I had a colleague of mine be like, and this person wrote me before I took it, and they said, you are already a level 4 coach. When, whether or not CrossFit acknowledges it now or later, or depending on how you present that, like, you're already there. And that means a lot coming from this person, because this person is a level 4 coach. And I would say, all in all, if you're a professional coach, and especially a high-level CrossFit coach, and distinguishing yourself as a CrossFit coach is what you want to do, then it doesn't get any harder or any higher on the food chain than the level 4. And quite frankly, if you think I'm full of shit when I say that you have no fucking clue how hard you can work as a coach, please feel free to sign up and go prove me wrong. Please go do it. Like, you're not going to get worse.
Nope.
in doing it, right? And
Probably
like,
gonna knock you down a few rungs. Tell you that much. If you down a few pegs.
again, based on my assessment, what I remember back
Mhm.
during the workouts and my understanding of the criteria, I don't believe I passed. And I'm going to get feedback.
Which is just blowing. It blows my mind because I'm also in the camp where like I'm sitting there. I'm like, Sam is of that level coach. Like I've seen you coach. I've pretty sure I've taken your classes. Like
Maybe.
I think I took at least one or two.
Probably. Yeah.
Pretty sure. Um, it's like, and I know the standard to which you hold yourself. And that's why I think like, and I'm not going to disagree because I was not there. I did not have the pleasure to watch you coach these classes in Georgia because I'm sure you probably like knocked some socks off. But knowing how hard you are on yourself
Yeah.
is what makes me think that you did pass. It's just the lens at which you're remembering things because we can tell ourselves all sorts of different stories. Listen,
Sure.
so the lens at which you're remembering things or the lens you've given yourself to look at those memories through is
Yeah.
I think I failed. So when you're looking at those memories through that lens, it's so extra critical of everything because I know that's how you are. And again, I might be 100% wrong,
Yeah.
but I know this is how I would be is like if
Oh,
in my
sure.
head I'd be like, oof, like there's a little thing that I think I might have failed. I think I might not have done that
Yeah.
perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the like me remembering me coaching the classes. I'm looking at that through the lens of I'm a sack of shit.
Mhm.
And that like paints a different picture, from
It
like
does. It does. And I agree. Right.
mhm,
But I can look back on those classes and be like, I know I coached those people. Many of those athletes in those classes came back to me and said, this was great. Thank you so much. I had one
mhm.
person say, I've been a part of a bunch of these evaluations, and this is the best one I've had. And like, I I know I
Yeah.
did well.
Yeah.
I don't think I did well enough for this check mark. And that's
Sam got a 70, needed a 72.
exactly like maybe like, and again, none of this matters.
I can't imagine that you were that far off. But again, regardless of whether or not CrossFit, deems you worthy to level 4, like I will never let you forget that you are worthy to possess the power of Thor.
I appreciate it.
So, you got
You want to
that.
you want to know something really fucked up? So let's go to the candidate handbook real quick.
Always. Always.
I'm going to read some stuff. So here's I'm gonna share a tab real quick. We have like 3 minutes. So I'm gonna share a tab. So this is gonna be interesting. Present candidate handbook share. All right, you can see it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so here's the deal. So there are scoring for each session. This is the level 4 candidate handbook. For each session, candidates are assessed in 14 subdomains across 6 evaluation domains. Evaluation domains are teaching, including demonstration, seeing, correcting, class management, presence and attitude, and application, right? This is something a little bit different from the level 2. So there's all of these little bits: correct
Hmm.
static positions, commands group attention, engages and establishes rapport, optimally balances, blah, blah, blah. But here's the deal. To pass the level 4 evaluation, a candidate must be evaluated as effective. It's a binary, effective or needs improvement, in no
Hmm.
less than 20 of 28.
Hmm.
Okay. Over 2
Yep.
sessions. So there's 14
Yep.
sessions, 2 workouts. Additionally, candidates must receive overall effective in at least 1 session in the following domains. And these 3 you cannot miss.
Yeah.
And so
So
if
your proper teaching, including demonstration, you're correcting, which we went over, which was seeing and correcting all
Yep,
gross, most subtle faults,
yep,
and then proper application of the methodology, which includes scaling, intensity,
scales
threshold
effectively for
training,
each
all that
athlete.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
like
if you could
that's
expand on the application, like because scaling comes down to again like meeting the intended stimulus, threshold
mhm.
training, like
So this is
all that fun
that
jazz.
section right there. And like I
You're
mean, it's it's a it's a high bar, and
it is. It is.
And so, like, for example, I could get like 20 out of 28 and miss one of the ones that I miss is one of those. I don't think,
Can't have it.
and he can't exactly. And like, you
Yeah,
must
can't
have
have it
those.
because
So
you have to hit those 3:
exactly.
teaching, correcting,
Application and threshold training.
Yep.
Well, we've yacked for nigh on to 60 minutes about this one. By the time this episode comes out,
Sam will know. Sam's gonna know.
We'll fucking know.
So follow at Coach Sam Burns, and then you'll, because I'm sure there'll be like if there's no Instagram announcement, then
I'm not going to announce either way. So I've thought about.
Oh no.
I don't know.
Okay, well you tell me, and then I'll announce it to the world.
That's
be like,
okay. That's appropriate.
Hey, you guys.
How about this?
Sam got his level 4.
I make this promise right now. If I pass or if I fail, I will announce it publicly.
Okay, there you go.
Just because it's important.
Well, but I think it's because you did your whole like video series of you prepping for this.
Still doing it, yeah.
So, well, yeah. So, but I mean, like, I think, having a like kind of maybe ending the series, maybe not ending the series, depending on what you want to do with it. But
yeah,
I think like if you end the series with like, hey, I either did or didn't, here's what I learned type deal. Like, you could use that as a cool educational piece. Like, if I didn't get it, here's here's what like either what went wrong or the feedback you got.
They're gonna, I believe,
he's just too good looking. It's not fair. You can't give him a level 4. He's already that beautiful.
If I'm looking at this, inclement weathers, blah blah blah, retesting, certification, designation, meeting, notification of results, eval documents, dismissal, testing locations. I think there's something about like if you fail, they provide you feedback. I'm not sure. If they provide me feedback, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to share what the feedback is. I think that's part of the NDA. But neither here nor there. By the time this comes out, we'll know one way or the other. And again, thinking back to that little baby sock, none of this shit matters in the big scheme of things.
The big scheme of things,
But great experience and very cool to break it down and discuss it with you. Next week we'll talk about something entirely different. I promise. Probably. What
that is, we have no idea.
None clue. And until then, everybody continue to be crazy. Thank you for listening. And Kevin, we'll talk to you later, mate.
Yeah, always.
Peace.